Welcome to Not So Silent. We are here. This is our first show in October. So we will say what you can't. We think we're right, but I wouldn't bet on it. We got some big announcements today. We've added 2 people to our team. We have AB and Bryce, who are both working on the show in the behind the scenes role. So welcome both to Bryce and AB. So as you guys know, I don't get involved in social media, never have, but I do understand it is a necessary evil, and a lot of you guys like to communicate that way and so on. So that's where AB and Bryce come in. So both of them are working on, now have a Facebook page. We're out on Twitter. And of course, we've been on YouTube, but we're more engaged there with shorter clips and so on. So if you guys would like to look us up in a different medium, feel free to go to and like us on or follow us on facebook.com// Not So Silent Pod, or on Twitter at Not So Silent Pod, and of course on YouTube. However, I'm still a big fan of listening on Spotify. So on today's show, unfortunately, there really was no news over the weekend. Nothing really important happened, specifically not with our president. So of course, I'm sure everyone is aware Trump got COVID, or at least, as some of the conspiracy theorists say, that he has told he got COVID. So, but he seems to be doing well, should be out, but we'll talk about that briefly. Kind of looks like the entire Republican Party got it. The election is all but over. I will claim it here. The election is over with, and I will explain why. We have some very important statistical data that here at Not So Silent has gone out in mind, that we will give you guys the important statistical data we have figured out. And we got some sports news, a little bit of serious or satire, and of course our top 5. And because it's October, this is the month of Halloween, so we are doing our top 5 favorite candy. So top 5 favorite candy. So I'm going to welcome Chris. So we got Chris from St. Louis. Sean won't be joining us today, so we'll actually have a good and productive show.
Yeah, can I just stop you for a second? So we hired an AB and a Bryce. Did you even consider going back, like going through the alphabet a little bit further to see if we had more qualified candidates, or were the like what?
Well, so Bryce and AB, although very nice gentlemen, were just the last 2 who decided they would call me back. So they got the job.
We hire workers like we date girls, man. It's last one in the pot.
So, poor AB and Bryce. No, they're awesome. I'm excited.
Well, it tells you a lot about the current job market if people are willing to work for this podcast. So,
pretty much.
Thank you, guys.
And Bryce and I share a last name, but I promise you there is no nepotism.
We're not the prettiest girl at the dance, but we are the only girl left at the dance. That's for sure.
All right. So, and one last thing. I don't know, Chris, I didn't even tell you this. I don't know how many people stick around on the podcast until the very end to get the Easter eggs, but most podcasts will throw a little fun, little surprise after the closing song. So I don't know if you guys have listened or not, but Chris, in your most recent one, I don't know, I let my son, my 12-year-old son, which I probably shouldn't do, let him watch this. And so last week we're at football and he plays quarterback. He fired a ball on a slant route, went through the kid's hands and hit him right in the junk. And I said, whoa, it was right in his junk. My son Rome goes, yeah, it was right in his rare square. So for those of you who have listened to the Easter eggs at the very end, you would get the joke, the rare square that came. So topics. All right. So our topics this week, let's see, we got a lot going on. One, to start off with, 3 stories that had something in common. You tell me if you can tell what they have in common. So first off, we have our story coming out of California. California has set up, and their governor, Gavin Newsom, has signed into law a law that is opening up and establishes the path for reparations. They have established, so it became the first state to adopt a law paving the way for Black residents and descendants of slaves to receive reparation payments. That is the news out of California. The news out of New York City that just came out. A study was done, and they are saying half of New York City restaurants and bars may close for good due to COVID-19. Half may close for good. Think about that.
Yeah.
New York City was known as kind of like the restaurant capital of the United States. And last but not least, here's a new article that I thought was a really interesting one, which is why is criminal investigation of Pritzker toilet removing property tax scheme taking so long? So right now there's a criminal investigation for Governor Pritzker of Illinois for what he did to avoid paying property taxes in our broke state. So Chris, what do you see as those three stories having in common?
Titles of this section could be Dems are going to Dem. It could be a fat guy, a skinny atheist, and forget about it in terms of making profits in New York anymore.
But think about that. Like, and all of them they're all different, right? They're clearly, one's about the restaurants and COVID, one's about reparations in California, and one is about corruption in Illinois. But if you look at a map, those three states, Illinois, New York, and California, are by far the bluest states, really. I mean, I guess the Northeast. And you do have Washington too, at least Seattle. But you just look what those three states are doing, and you go, remind me again why people are thinking that that's the party that I want to follow.
And this is a bit tangential, but the Democrats have come out saying like, oh, the Republicans won't work with us on the stimulus bill we passed in the House. That's because their stimulus bill has built in all these provisions to bail out blue states that have bankrupted themselves. That's why Republicans are not even considering a vote on it, because they keep doing crap like this. Do you have an idea how much reparations are going to cost and what kind of damage that's going to do to people? I mean, look, I'm all for you doing it within your state. Go for it. See what happens to the population of your state. Give it a try. But I don't like when the federal government has to pay for it. Taxpayers in Montana shouldn't be paying for the crap in California or New York or Illinois.
And I agree with that. That's when I first saw this story break. That's exactly what I said to Sandra, who was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. I said, you know what? More power to them. You want to do it? You know what? Tax everyone in California. They are talking. Listen to this one. Let me add to this. They are talking. I don't know if we talked about this a little bit last time. Pritzker wants to change an Illinois constitutional amendment to have a progressive tax like California has. Currently, California's top tier income state income tax bracket is 13.3%. They are looking to propose and changing it to 16.8%. Think about that, 16.8%. Now, I understand they would say, well, it's only on people who make a lot of money. Yeah, but the people who make a lot of money are the ones who pay a lot of taxes, and you don't want to push all those people out of your state.
Well, let me give you an example. I heard through the corporate waiver wire, take Amazon, for example. They are getting taxed so viciously in Seattle. They are going to move their entire headquarters to Bellevue, Washington, which is just across the water, but different tax structure, right? It's different county. My understanding is they own like 39% of the real estate in Seattle, which will now be vacant. That is going to crush their city. When you tax the rich, they just move to where there are better tax breaks, and they're going to create more employment and jobs and stuff there. You don't just get that money. It doesn't foster growth. They move stuff offshore. Why people don't understand this, I don't know.
So, and here's how it looks. It's right now it's $1 million or more in California gets taxed at 13.3%. So this is what I wanted to, if you were, let's say you were Odell Beckham or Mike Trout, for instance. I'm still surprised Mike Trout signed with the Los Angeles Angels. You're going to sign a $400 million contract. If you sign it with the Miami Marlins or the Tampa Bay Rays in Florida or the Texas teams, there is none in Nashville, but soon to be there. They're talking about putting a Major League Baseball team in Nashville versus a California team. You pay where you play, and which means half your games are your home stadium. Yeah. A 13.3%, or if they move it to almost 17%, if you made 5 or 10, call it $10 million a year, half of which you pay in your state, so $5 million, and you're paying at 17% now. I mean, that is such an astronomical difference in pay that I mean, well, let's just do what it is. It's 17% at $5 million is $850,000 difference in pay. I mean, that's crazy. That means that the teams in those states that don't have a state income tax, what a massive benefit it is. And why would any player who's a free agent go to those markets? Which is a big reason why a lot of people knew that Kawhi Leonard would never re-sign in Toronto. Why re-sign in Canada where the tax rates are through the roof? Because it's, it has some socialism to its, at least the healthcare system.
Now, you would think that would benefit small market teams more, more than it does now. But I think it's just now starting to creep towards that breaking point where people like you who've lived in Illinois their whole lives are going, I don't even have family in Nashville, but I'm moving to Nashville, moving an entire state away. I think it's going to hit that breaking point. And the thing is you can't just turn that valve off once you've started it. Like it doesn't work that way. It could take decades or a generation to get people to move back in. I mean, again.
Yeah. I mean, this is the second to last podcast I'm going to have in Chicago. We move on Sunday. We're moving the Not So Silent team, me, to Nashville, me and my laptop. And because of this, Ben Shapiro is moving. Joe Rogan moved out of California into Texas. Just came out James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek. He said he's moving his family out of California to Texas. I mean,
is it James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek or James Vanderbeek from Varsity Blues?
Yeah, Varsity
I prefer
Blues.
that. Yeah.
The article, same guy. I didn't watch.
Fun movie, man. Gosh.
How about the whipped cream?
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, that was
the whipped cream.
That was just a fun movie. Like, there's no wokeness. There's nothing. Oh man. Okay. Anyway, I digress.
Yep. That was back when things were good. So the Pritzker stuff, we talked about him. He's crazy. And then you have de Blasio and what's going on in New York. They just opened up restaurants to 25% capacity, and they're still theorizing that this thing is, this thing is going to crush them. Up to half of the bars and restaurants will never open up again. I mean, it's too bad to see places like New York City and in Chicago and LA just being ravaged. I think in 20 years, when we look at the U.S. Census, I think it won't be what I've said to some people is if you think the last decade, people leaving those states, which have been well documented, that is going to look like a trickle relative to the fire hose that's about to happen in the next decade.
Because who wants to start a new business in New York? Like, who wants to do that?
I would never in a million years would I start a business in any one of those three. I mean, that's why I'm moving.
Yeah. Again,
I mean, this is crazy.
I think you and I both agree that, let the states do what they want, but no federal bailouts for those states and they go bankrupt. And they are bankrupt, but that's what they want. That's what the House is trying to push through. And that's not going to happen as long as we control at least one of the houses here.
I agree. So we got to talk about it. Trump got COVID, right? So we all saw that. In fact, everyone here, Not So Silent, I will say this. I want to be very clear. Not So Silent was the first to prognosticate that he had tested positive. I can prove it. I did it on Twitter. I think it was like the first ever tweet I put out. An hour and a half before it was released that he had COVID, I put a prognostication on Twitter stating that he would test positive for COVID. So we were right. So what did you think when you saw the news officially break? Not my news, but the news.
I thought nothing. I thought he's going to be fine. He's going to get over it. And it's going to be like, guys, this is not – it's like he said in the debate, we didn't know how bad it was when it started. Now we know it's really not that bad. It's bad for people that are old, just like the flu is bad for people that are old. But largely, most people will not die from this thing. And I think it's going to be a great, I don't want to say a card for the president to play. I don't think he should lean into it too much, but heck, I mean, I've had COVID. The worst thing was I lost my sense of smell, but otherwise I didn't feel ill at all. I just couldn't taste anything, which honestly should have had me lose weight. I still gained weight somehow, but that's being a fat guy. I'm on the Pritzker diet plan. I don't think much of it. I don't think it's a big deal. I know the Democrats are making a big deal out of it. A lot of them are making themselves look like fools, wishing that he dies, and it's really disgusting stuff. To Biden's credit, he put out a nice statement. Rachel Maddow, of all people, had a really nice statement.
I have to say, as much as I think, first of all, I think that was politically the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing that Biden would have done, or anyone else, that's of significance right now. I'm not talking about the blue checkmark brigade, but I'm talking the significant people with elections coming up and stuff, would be to pile on. And so Biden was smart about how he handled things. Rachel Maddow was smart, but I also do appreciate it from just a humanity standpoint. And at some point in one of these shows coming down in the next couple, we're going to talk about the media and how do you get back to, I wouldn't call it freedom of the press, because certainly we do have freedom of the press, but how do we get back to a press that we can trust, journalism that we can trust? Washington Post, they did take it down, but had a piece up more or less stating that it would be good for Trump to die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is absurd that someone as powerful as the Washington Post, that, when you and I were kids, if someone said this was in the Washington Post, it was treated like fact, right? Like, oh my gosh, the New York Times, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, CNN, Fox News, like these were ABC, NBC. When you heard that those people, like, well, then this is the real deal. Now it is so ridiculously partisan, they might as well just be owned by the Republican or Democratic Party. Like to act like they're not is stupid. So I think they need to lose their journalistic accreditation or whatever you get.
Because I've had people on Facebook just casually say, like, man, it feels like there's a market for people that just look at the facts and deliver news. The problem is I think even the people who try to do that are viewed as conservatives, because if you are not uber woke, then you must be a conservative or you must be the enemy. So even playing it straight, like, because largely I follow conservatives because they typically wait till facts come out and go based off of facts. But that's considered racist by the left. So I don't even know that there is a true down the middle that's not even considered right wing. I actually think Fox has been pushed more right wing.
Correct.
Not because they are more right wing, but just because everything is so slanted to the left that even the middle seems right. So,
well, unfortunately, we're in an era where clickbait's everything, right? And announcing the news in a middle of the road or nonpartisan way, I don't know that it gets you a lot of clicks.
No.
And I think that's part of the problem is Fox News gets viewership and CNN gets viewership probably by going further to the polls, and that's the problem. And the Washington, now I would think that's crazy. I would think you'd want to get everyone. But when it comes to the news, at least over the last, 6-7 years or whatever, at least the last 4 years, they have moved in such opposite directions. And I think our country's worse off for it because it doesn't feel like you have the same freedom of the press, right? Even though technically they're free, it feels like they 100% have an agenda and a spin that is obnoxious. And that's why, frankly, Ben Shapiro just talked about this, which I'm pretty excited about. And I think that's why our podcast is experiencing such growth, which, by the way, we did not hit our 10 times. We're 9.5 times growth last month, expecting October to be another massive growth month for us, our biggest listenership, is people are turning to long form podcast because they're sick and tired of the news. They're sick and tired of turning on ABC, NBC, CNN, and even to some extent Fox News, because they just know what they're going to get, and they'd rather get a little bit more common sense take on things and a little bit more fun take on things.
I would like to see more longer form discussions. I almost would call them a debate, like when you have two intellectuals on both sides debating something. So the news segments where they bring on a Democrat and a Republican, it's like a wham, bam, 5 minutes. They throw out a bunch of platitudes or a bunch of statistics that you're not even sure if you could verify because they seem to contradict each other. But it's almost like I would like a 30-minute show that's like this smart conservative and this smart liberal are going to debate a topic. They're each going to have a fact checker on each side kind of weighing out like, yes, both statistics are right, but technically they're slanted because of that. Like I almost want to see something like that, but they don't let people go on long enough to really fact check this stuff. So all you're left with is rhetoric on both sides, statistics you're not sure if you can believe. And that's really frustrating. So long form podcast is really like conservatives are dominating the long form podcast area, AM radio.
So let's ask the listeners, would they agree with Chris if they want to see that? Because that's something, we make that happen. We can get an intelligent, mature liberal or Democrat to come on and talk to us and have a long form debate or discussion about it. And not a crazy person. Let's just actually have a real debate about it. And I'm open. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something.
We would need an intelligent conservative too. So we got to find that as well.
Correct. We'll find one of those.
I feel like we are sort of the Joe Rogans, but even less smart, going like, we're not really that smart.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Joe Rogan's more, it's like Joe Rogan is saying he's more like us.
He's pretty intelligent though. More intelligent than people realize it.
Yeah, he is. Clay Travis is very intelligent.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. So that's something we'll work on. I like that. I like that idea. We'll get a debate going. We will get a debate going. All right. So Trump has COVID. We know that. They're announcing that he should be leaving today. He should be leaving the Walter Reed Medical Center today. And if anyone is on Twitter, you'd have seen that starting this morning, it looked like he was back to work. He was out there. He was tweeting. And he clearly is kind of back to himself right now.
You saw him driving around in the car, right?
I think it's hilarious. I think it's awesome. I know that the press didn't like it.
I saw Joe Biden do a speech because her husband won't come out of the basement. And there must have been like 12 people there. Like it said like small but energized crowd of women or something. I know what the polls say, but gosh, everywhere Trump goes, there is just a mass amount of people that are following him, that love him, that will vote for him. But you never see so much as like a single like crowd worth mentioning for Kamala Harris or Biden, and they still won't take questions. Oh, is this a prognostication? Am I jumping the gun?
I got it. Yep. Okay. Hang on. I think this is. What did you say?
Take me home, big dog.
All right, so I got it. This is something that I'm still working on, trying to find all the research to back up my claim that's about to come, but I got enough. So we talked about the debate ratings and how bad they were, right?
Yep.
Now that was pretty widely talked about. However, what no one has been talking about when it came to because then that showed actually maybe a lot of people already have made up their minds, and you got all these polls and so on. Here's why I know Trump is going to win. Well, I have another reason why I know Trump is going to win. We'll get to that in sports. But why I know Trump is going to win, and this is interesting stuff. So no one turned off the debate. How about that? So It is statistically really rare. No one turned it off. This was written up in Yahoo News, which was a little bit surprising that Yahoo would say it. However, no one at 9 o'clock and at 10:30. At 9 o'clock, there were 42.5 million viewers. At 9:30, it was 42.9. And it never wavered. It was always like right in that same rate, 42.5. And the high was 43.7 at 9:30, every 15-minute spot. So in terms of like percentage, it was 68%, or as low as 67, as high as 69. So the ratings never changed.
Interesting.
People who tuned in. Some things that I think are missing from it. Number one, with every passing year, people are tuning in more and more and more through streaming and other mediums, right? Not through the 13 major networks that people are thinking about.
Do they have a way to calculate that, or no? Is that factored in?
They do, but it's harder to calculate because now you can stream things so many different ways that are not getting grabbed in Nielsen ratings and so on. They do their best to try to cover it, but not as well. But here's why I believe it is different. So it was down from the Hillary-Trump debate, but it still was I believe the third largest debate ratings of all time. No one tuned out. And on top of it, here's the big difference. In 2016, NBC was the leader. More people tuned into NBC than anyone else. However, this time, Fox News dominated. So I think that's telling me, because I think everyone knows Fox News tends to be the conservative, and the people on the conservative side watch Fox News, and then liberals will watch, or independents sometimes will watch Fox and CNN, MSNBC, ABC, whatever it is. But the fact that Fox News has really dramatically leaped ahead of all of the others is telling me the Republicans are going to come out and vote. And then the second thing is, it's really goes to, if that is true, this idea that the debate and everyone's already made up their minds, which I do believe is in a lot of ways true, because you know what Trump is, you know what you got, you know his policy for the most part, and you know Biden, right?
Yeah.
So you've made up your mind. In fact, a lot of people are already voting. I'm going to vote on Thursday in early voting. I'm going to make sure my vote gets in before we move. Unfortunately, we cannot vote in Tennessee, which we wanted to. We're going to vote in Illinois. We're voting on Thursday. So a lot of people are voting early anyway. And so if people have already made up their minds and already voted, and then you see Fox News gets this big viewership, isn't that to the point of what Dan Bojinga, whatever, the guy who talks on Fox News quite a bit, big podcaster, he came out and said Trump crushed that first debate because it's all about getting the base to go vote. It's really about getting the vote out more than it is changing votes. It's about getting the people to the polls. And I think that's where Trump is going to win, is he's going to get his people out voting more.
Do you have more?
So I don't know if that makes you feel, differently about everything. But.
It does. And then I'd seen a recent poll that was a poll of likely voters, which is one of the only polls that predict the last election, that Trump is ahead by 3 points in most swing states in polls of likely to actually vote. I thought that article, which we may have talked about a week ago, that Telemundo surveyed people, and 66% thought Trump won the debate. Not necessarily that they're voting for Trump, but thought he won the debate. And that's interesting. I think that there are more and more African Americans that are sort of waking up to the fact that, like, you have nothing to lose by voting Republican because the Democrats have done nothing for you. And when I say waking up to that, I'm not saying it's going to be a massive swing, but like, I think he's going to have more of the black vote than any Republican in history potentially. And that only has to be like 14, 15%, or the Hispanic vote only has to be a slight bump for him to crush this in a landslide. So there are a lot of promising things there. Again, my gut, just the sniff test just says that, like, man, there's no excitement for Biden. There isn't. Like, people will stay up late and riot, but they won't wake up and vote.
Correct. All right. So let's move on. Let's get to some sports news.
Yeah.
We'll get to some sports news. Let's see. You wanted to talk a little bit Bears Colts, being the Chicago guy that you are.
Well, I mean, look, we knew that we were imposters at 3-0. We knew that. I know the Colts have a good defense. I think they might have the number one defense in the league right now in terms of points allowed and yards allowed, things like that. I know it was Nick Foles' first game as a starter for the Bears. But, man, our offense looks so anemic. We basically scored 3 points. We had a garbage time touchdown, but that was when they were in prevent. Duncan, what are your thoughts, man? Do you think we got a shot at the playoffs, or are we just a dumpster fire again? Same old Bears, crappy mid to low tier quarterback. Like, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to give you a hot take that my data mining has done for me. And this comes from Reddit. This is from a Reddit thread. How about this for a hot take? Yesterday's Bears-Colts game has perfectly predicted the outcome of the presidential election. I am going to claim right here, right now, Donald Trump as winning the presidential election in November. And if you're wondering, how do I know that, Chris? Because the Bears and the Colts, ever since divisional realignment in 2002, the Bears and the Colts have played during the regular season every time we had a presidential election. And every time the red state of Indiana has won that game, the Republican has won. And
that's
every time.
Would you stop walking around like a drunk idiot? Like, my wife is seriously, I mean, she's like dropping an iPad. I think like a vase fell out of her vag and shattered on the floor or something. Where are you even getting this stuff? She really hates us. She's like our most ardent anti-supporter.
She's trying to keep us silent, Chris.
Suburban housewives, man. They hate Trump. You know?
I'm for Trump.
She's for Trump.
There you go.
Not for her husband's podcast.
We got one of them. All right. So again, the Colts in 2004 and 2016 beat the Bears, and Bush and Trump were elected. The Bears, the Colts in 2008 and 2012, and Barack Obama was voted in.
That sounds scientific to me. Yeah.
Yeah. No. That's, I mean, look, The liberals will use the same level of correlation to tell you about why their policies will make sense. So, yeah, forget about causation. Let's just look at anything that correlates and see if it makes sense, and let's go with it.
Sales of Depends have tripled in the past month, which points towards a Biden victory. He's going to turn out the old.
Wonderful. All right. Yes, I think the Bears are imposters. I think the Bears suck.
A win over that stat, though. I mean, like, do we have a prayer? Do we just always suck, man? We just always suck.
And the worst part about it is every year we get just enough wins to get a crappy enough draft pick, except for the year that we picked up Mitch Trubisky.
Yep.
I think Nagy's got to go. Ryan Pace has to go. I don't know why Chicago can't be like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Seahawks or the Patriots or the 49ers or any of these teams that historically just are good, sound football teams. The Bears.
49ers were bad for a while, but yeah, I hear you. God, I would take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat. Gosh, a great coach.
Oh, I would love Mike Tomlin.
Coach. Yeah, maybe it's time to bring Lovey back. Just get back to 10 wins and no playoff wins, you know?
Yeah, what about Tony Dungy? How about a Tony Dungy?
I love Dungy. Are you kidding me? Does he have any desire to coach, though? I got to imagine people have asked him.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I love Dungy.
All right, how about this? NBA Finals are an epic disaster from a rating standpoint. Epic disaster. I mean, it's not even close. They're 40 and 50% off in their ratings. And they have the Lakers and LeBron in the finals.
I heard
it's an epic disaster.
Lowest rated playoff game in history. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, it is just an epic disaster to the tune that they don't even know what to do with it.
Okay, so
and yet, go on.
I already didn't love the NBA for a couple of reasons. One is there wasn't really a lot of parity, which kind of ties to my second one, which is very little loyalty to the team you start with, which I don't begrudge athletes leaving their city to go make more money in a different city. Like, I can't hold that against them. That's the free market. I think it's a lot more fun when you've got some starters that are really loyal to the brand and loyal to the state. And it's not like Michael Jordan wasn't contemplating. I don't know if he was contemplating leaving to play for other teams so much as if he didn't get paid what he was worth, he wasn't going to stay, but they worked it out, right? So maybe we just got lucky with Jordan. But it just I just felt like people their teams much longer back then.
Yeah, things have changed, and I understand. I'm with you. The players have every right to do it, and empower to them. But I agree, it makes it hard when players like LeBron or Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard, these guys, almost on a yearly basis become free agents because now they're signing 4-year deals where they can opt out every year.
Yeah.
And it's every year we go through it. But again, how about this? So if this is any surprise, there's a new Harris poll suggests some viewers have stopped watching over politics. Like, no kidding. Nearly 40% of respondents in a new Harris poll said they were watching less basketball because the league has become too political. I don't know why that's a surprise, but at least now we have data to prove it. Like, guys, stop doing what you're doing.
They've got the double whammy. It's not just the wokeness, it's the lack of calling out China, who they're like financially beholden to. That is it. That double whammy is just so disgusting, that hypocrisy. I mean, they have straight up like concentration camps in China. And I think one guy came out recently, I think Clay Travis had mentioned him in defense of Hong Kong recently, but it's just so gross. Like, you want to see real inequity?
So
come on.
You want to talk about hypocrisy? Have you seen that a conservative group called the National Legal and Policy Center was going to spend deep into the six figures? This is coming from Outkick.com. Spend deep into the six figures to display 5 billboards around the NBA bubble in Orlando that would show LeBron James with a Chinese flag covering his mouth saying silence is violence. And the billboard company wouldn't do it. I mean, what's going on? How come you can have billboards that say that our president is like a dirtbag, but yet you can't have, I mean, really? Doesn't this is kind of mind-blowing to me.
You know, the next thing I'm looking forward to tanking is when Space Jam 2 comes out, which is a big reason LeBron James went to LA is to get his movie career going. he's going to bomb incredibly at the box office. He's just toxic, man. He's not liked.
He isn't. And now the sad thing is, like, my kids turned on the NBA game the other night for like 5 minutes, but I'm not going to tell my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old they're not allowed to watch a basketball game because it's too political. And so I let them do it, but I'm just sitting there sickened by it, going like the court, everything is just, it's so overdone. Again, football, baseball, I thought did it great. They gave them the opportunity for the first game, get it out. We understand. We want to be on your side. I get it. You're some of our employees. I still disagree with it, but that's how they did it. And then it was shut down. The NBA has just, they leaned in, and they leaned in way too far. And I'll bet you next year looks very, very different than this year, regardless of who the president is.
Yeah.
Because it's going to hurt their wallets. How about this one? Did you see that 2 more bowl games have been shut down?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, 2.
Significant
Let me,
or like, obscure ones?
Here. This is coming from Saturday Down South. This is really very, very big deal. In addition to July, the Redbox Bowl got canceled.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Redbox
no, I mean there goes your Redbox Bowl party that you always have.
Redbox was cool when it was $1 a movie, but now it's like $4 a movie. It's no better than Blockbuster. Right? Jeez.
Really?
Have you Redbox something before? Oh, nobody knows who Blockbuster is.
So for those people who are listening right now who are under the age of like 28 and have no clue, look up what Blockbuster was.
Okay, whatever. So
the other 2 bowls that have just been canceled are the Bahamas Bowl and the Hawaii Bowl, as if anyone cares. Like, it's about time that we get back to like a normal, like making a bowl game was a big deal.
I'll tell you who's going to be pissed about the Hawaii Bowl. Whoever was about to get a trip to Hawaii to play in the bowl. That sucks for those guys.
That is true.
Plus, I heard Tulsi Gabbard hit the game. Not bad.
Who?
Tulsi Gabbard. She's not.
See, I knew you were.
She's easier than us. Yeah.
All right. So last thing I had, did you see Raheem Mostert wants MetLife to shut down?
What?
MetLife Stadium because Raheem Mostert, this is interesting. I think it's something to be on the lookout for. I guess a lot of players this year have been getting tearing ACLs.
Yeah.
It's been pretty significant. The injuries at MetLife, they're calling into question the turf there at MetLife Stadium, as if Cuomo and De Blasio don't have. Well, I guess the stadium is technically in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So the New Jersey governor, who's also an idiot, gets to figure this thing out. So that's it for sports news. You got anything else? All right, so on to some serious satire. So I got a couple of serious satire. Chris, I don't know if you have any this week. I have a couple of serious satire. I just got to find them. Here we go. All right, here's one. Chris Pratt under fire for jokes about voting.
I'm going to go with serious.
So you tell me if this is a real or not Instagram post by Chris Pratt. This is the post is a picture of Onward, the Disney movie that he was a voice in. With all that's going on in the world, it is more important than ever that you vote. Just ask any celebrity. They will tell you every day, several times a day, to vote. But me, I will tell you exactly who to vote for. #Onward. The heroes before us did not spill their blood only to have their sacrifices wasted by your apathy. The upcoming 2020 People's Choice Award is the most consequential vote in the history of mankind times a million infinity.
Dude, that's got to be serious because Pratt is not quite been beaten down by the liberal crap in Hollywood yet. He kind of jumped into Guardians and was just a smash hit, and he's still a pithy guy, but he has not been completely like kowtowed like The Rock has recently. So that's got to be serious.
I think it's hilarious.
It's awesome.
And then it goes on to say, vote for Onward for Family Movie of the Year or else you will die. And he's getting called out and being told that it wasn't funny and it's poor timing and read the room and all these other things.
Apologized, has he? Please tell me he has not apologized.
No.
Oh, thank
no,
God.
he
Don't
hasn't.
apologize, Chris. If you're listening, Chris, and I know you probably are, don't apologize.
Yes,
Looking forward
and
to
Chris,
talking
come on to the show. Come on to the show and be our conservative, intelligent person.
and tell Drax to stop being such a flaming liberal.
All right, so that one was serious. Let's see. Former Twitter CEO says some capitalists, quote, going to be the first shot in the revolution.
I mean, that's so hard to say. I mean, it's probably serious. If not, it probably is, and you don't realize it.
That is serious. Yeah. Former Twitter CEO. Let's remember that means that this is a very formerly, I guess, very powerful person in the world.
Do you think that it is realistic that we might actually go to a civil war, like a real civil war?
Oh my gosh. You're going to get me in trouble, but yes, I do. I said to my mom the other day, I said, I wonder if this is what the country felt like in like 1850, where it was just, there was so much like total divide and like craziness on both sides. Now, obviously they didn't have social media and so on, but it just feels like
the thing is,
we're
not partitioned between the North. We're not partitioned geographically. So like, how would that even work? Like, I don't even know which of my neighbors are Democrats. So I don't know which ones to shoot at. It's like,
I don't know that it will be in terms of the Civil War where everyone met in a field and they had bayonets facing each other.
No, like a Vietnamese guerrilla war or what?
Yeah, I think it'll be more as you call it, a Cold War or a war of the press or whatever. I don't know. But yes, I think it'll be much more civilized than it was in the 1860s. But yeah, I think I think that's where we're headed. I just can't get over how nuts some people are, and no one seems to have any common sense. Okay. Like again, so Chris Pratt getting shouted down for making a joke.
How long does it last?
What was that?
It's a real war with weapons. How long does it last? Prognosticate on that.
I'm not going to, so I'll be silent.
Okay.
All right, my next one. The headline: the era of influencers being apolitical online is over.
I thought Kim Kardashian already was political. So who is it that's not being, or that is going into politics that's not? Is Ryan's Toy Chest on YouTube? Is he choosing a side? Like, did I miss that? Is JoJo Siwa? Is she choosing a side? Yeah, you don't know who these people are, but you should.
I know who JoJo Siwa is. My daughter Geneva loves JoJo Siwa. In fact, I was supposed to take her to the concert in April.
Except the tickets are really expensive. So screw that, man.
And COVID hit.
Oh, whatever. That's yeah.
So I got out of it because of COVID. That was one of the good things of COVID. So again, the era of influencers being apolitical online is over.
What does that mean? Oh, that's a serious satire.
Yeah.
Serious?
It is. And it's as if it's not annoying enough to try to get political insight from, LeBron James and the athletes of the world. Now we're going to get it from social media influencers. Seriously?
Let them lose market share. Let them lose money. Like, let's let this kind of has to burn itself out at some point. It just has to, right? So like, you know what? Just go do your thing. I've turned off all media. I've bought more guns, like whatever. I don't care. Like, let them follow this path into a fiery burning pit. That's not necessarily hell, but whatever, fiery burning pit you believe in.
Yeah. So Chris has lost common sense too, it sounds like. All right, good. All right. Cyclist Quinn Simons suspended because he said bye in response to tweet about being a Trump supporter.
Oh, man, that's not serious, is it? Wait, bye, like B-I, right?
It is serious. This one was no, B-Y-E.
He said bye.
So this is crazy to me. Because someone, a Dutch reporter tweeted out, "My dear American friends, I hope this horrible presidency ends for you. If you follow me and support Trump, you can go." And he said, bye. and he was suspended for that.
Suspended from who? Like the biking team that he's on? I mean, I'm not really following biking.
Yes.
Because he said bye because he supports Trump.
Correct.
He's suspended for that.
Yes.
Oh, that's dirty. What?
I mean, Chris, this week my series for satire were not like stupid, funny stuff about people in Florida. These were, I can't believe Chris Pratt is getting canceled for a joke that wasn't even like, it wasn't like a racist joke. It was just a joke of voting. And a cyclist who got suspended because he said goodbye because someone didn't want him as a Trump supporter follower. I mean, it's just, it's nuts.
That's gross, man. I'm so burnt out on it. Like, I'm just so burnt out on it. I just can't,
All right, so let's have fun then.
When's it going to come home to one of us, though? When's it going to hit home for us personally?
Like, when are we going to get canceled as a podcast?
I guess we have to be famous and make money, which combined we don't really do either. So we're probably safer now, right?
Yeah, we're definitely safe.
Yeah,
definitely safe, especially on the whole make money part of things.
Yeah, unless AB and Bryce do their jobs well, then we're probably fine. So,
All right, so let's have some fun. It's Halloween. We're here. It's Halloween. The one good part about this stupid holiday, in my opinion, is when I get to walk up and down the streets with my kids. Last year in Chicago it was snowing, but I did get to steal candy from them and eat it as we walked. So, top 5 candy. So, what are your top 5 candies of all time? And considering we don't have Sean, I guess it's not much of a snake draft. So we'll just go
back and forth.
Just go back and forth. So, Chris, I'll let you go first.
All right. It's a little uncommon. It's a personal favorite of mine. You're going to say, like, it's not even a candy bar, but Raisinets, chocolate-covered raisins. I love those little guys. And they've got at least some healthy aspect to them. It's a raisin in it.
You're kidding that is your number.
I'm not kidding. Honestly, it's my number 1, but just for the sake of, like, people thinking I'm crazy, I'll go with that as number 5. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. My number 5, it was one of my dad's favorites. And I love them. I absolutely love them. You can let them melt in your mouth if you want. Love a good.
Did you just say
all candy?
Is there a single item on this list that you can't do that with? Like, wow, that's a real deciding factor.
I was trying to have the
chocolatey. I mean, it's got everything you could ever want in a candy bar.
Trying to have the dramatic build up to my number 5, nice. Whoppers.
Oh no, malted milk balls? No, they're sort of like a better version of candy corn. They're really good for a couple, but you eat too many and you're like, okay, I'm done with this for the next year. Hey. Make fun of Raisinets, man. I had at least like some fruit in mine. Okay, number 4 is going to be Twix. Twix is a solid candy bar, especially ice cold. Like, I think most people will agree. Crunchy caramel.
How about peanut butter Twix? You ever had peanut butter Twix?
A little too much for me. Like, I just, I used to love peanut butter on pretty much everything, but like I kind of strayed away from that. I'm fat enough, I guess. So at one point my body just said enough's enough.
Okay. All right. Here's my number 4. This is, I don't know how to say it. I think I'll say it right. Toblerone.
Oh my God.
It's good. It's really good. Come on. Don't act like a Sean.
It's just such a, suburban white dude or Canadian candy bar to love, like it's just such a, Toblerone.
You do get them at the duty free shop.
That's the only place I can remember like where to get them. Is like the gigantic Toblerones at the duty free. My number 3 is going to be Charleston Chew. How about that for a curveball?
Really?
Oh yeah.
What is 1947?
What's wrong with the classic, man? I think part of the reason why I like it is because you don't find them anymore. So it's like you're always eating the same crap over and over again. I find myself a Charleston Chew and I'm like, ooh, take me back to the 20s. Yeah.
Yeah, are you just trying to grab the boomer market share?
Yeah, it's certainly a racist candy bar, that's for sure. But
I'm sure. Yes, I'm waiting for them to change the name. All right, my number 3. I think everyone's going to have this in their top 5. Anyone who knows candy and certainly likes peanut butter, Reese's peanut butter cup.
It's not on my top 5. I feel you. I get it. But okay, there are a lot of variations on the peanut butter cup, though. So that throws the whole ratio off. What kind of like the classic, like big big cup, the miniatures, like the peanut butter eggs?
Well, the peanut butter eggs are great.
It depends.
But
I mean,
just a classic.
I like the minis. I like the more chocolate to peanut butter ratio, so I prefer the minis.
See, I'm a peanut butter nut, so you'll see my top 3 all fall in a pretty similar
peanut butter
category.
nut redundant, but hey, whatever. I don't know. My number 2, going with the baby boomer candy bars, Baby Ruth. Love me some Baby Ruth.
I was gonna put Baby Ruth on mine.
I don't
I'm
even
a
know what's
Toblerone.
really in it. I know it's got nougat. I don't even know what that is. It could be like ground up horse hooves, but
It likely is. All right, my number 2. Oh gosh, I'm like getting hungry thinking Butterfingers.
Again, great candy bar, but
Amazing.
it's a little messy. Like whenever they've been in the bag for a while, like they're all crumbly and messed up, and again, it spikes real quick, but then it goes out like real fast. It's not like something.
Oh, I love a Butterfinger. And have you ever had what is it called, like the Chico stick, where it's just the inside of the Butterfinger? I love that too.
What's wrong with us? Okay. Well, next topic next week will be the obesity epidemic and what has led to that. Number 1, this is a boring pick. You might be able to guess it, but it's going to be the Snickers bar. Snickers bar, it's boring, but man, it has a very good balance of nuts, nougat, caramel, chocolate. I mean, I feel like you could have that as a meal and not feel terrible about it. It's probably not true, but
That's not true at all. And I feel like my mom and all her friends who are listening to this are rejoicing with your picks and like, oh, I know all of these.
Well, I'm an old-fashioned guy.
But clearly, well, I guess then again, mine aren't. I do have Toblerone, which you can only get a duty-free shop.
My number 1 is truffles of any kind, chocolate truffle, raspberry drizzle.
No, raspberry reduction. No, my number 1 favorite, all-time favorite. Gosh, if I have the best version of them come out during Easter, in the big ones, but Reese's Pieces.
I get that. I get that. Reese's Pieces are good. Is this
going to be like the most highly contested top 5 of all time?
Yeah, potentially. I just think a lot of years you go through one set of them and you're burnt out on it. Mine are more consistent. They're timeless. That's why they've been around for so long. Like you don't burn out on these candies,
You're kidding, right?
I'm not kidding.
Snickers, if like Snickers is fine, but Snickers and Baby Ruth, if I'm like, you're only going to eat one or the other. The bag is, if you get a mixture of all, the Costco bag, the variety.
This wasn't top 5 candy bars to have on a deserted island. It's just the top 5 candies. If you can choose one, I'm choosing my number 1. If that's not there, I'm choosing number 2. I mean, that's the nature of the list.
Yes, and Reese's Pieces would be the greatest candy of all time.
I guess so. I don't know.
And Toblerone would absolutely fall
That's
number
a
4.
Bad pick. That's a bad pick.
I don't know why I put Toblerone. I immediately am regretting this.
All right. What are the top 5 things about not having a job right now, Taylor?
Lack of income. All right. I guess on that note, we are done for the day. Let us know what your top 5 candies are. And hopefully you have an awesome start to your Halloween month. And hopefully we can be done talking about the election upcoming, and we can start talking about all the liberal tears we're going to start to see because the Colts beat the Bears. So on that note, guys, please follow us on Twitter at NotSoSilentPod. Go to Facebook.com/NotSoSilentPod and follow us there as well. And make sure that on Spotify and YouTube you subscribe, and Apple Podcasts as well. All right, goodbye. That was not so funny.
Welcome to Not So Funny podcast. We would like you to follow us like Joe Biden follows a 8-year-old girl who just used her placences in her hair. We would like you to. What else we got?
I don't think we got much today.
We got nothing. It was a little flat today. Also, like the kind of girls that Joe Biden likes, coincidentally. It's like a big Joe Biden theme podcast. I feel like today was a 2 out of 10. Like the kind of rating I'd give one of the dudes who transitions to a girl to go to the female prison we talked about. I'm like, 2 out of 10. But when there's only up to 3s here, a 2 is about as good as you're going to get.